The voodoo doll. You may think dolls are innocent or just a child's plaything, but after you hear this, you'll probably have second thoughts about that. I was shopping for a present as it was my sister's birthday party and she wanted to buy a new doll for her birthday. I don't remember the name of the doll, so don't go looking for it. I went to the store to buy it, but she forgot to say one thing to me. This was the most popular doll in the world, and there was limited stock, and me finding it was 1 in a million. But I would not be able to bear the face of my sister after her hearing this disheartening news. So I spent 6 hours going to every store in the city, and did not even find one doll. All my efforts were useless, and just when it seemed like there was no hope, I came across an antique shop which was run down and had bright neon lights. It was at the back of the street, and I thought it could be a dodgy shop, but I was desperate. I went in to start my worries. I entered the store and the bell chimed. Ding 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 ding. The store had a typical smell and the look of an antique shop, and most of the wares, while they're in no state to sell, were just barely sellable. I then looked up, and in the corner of my eye I saw the doll, and it looked exactly like the doll my sister asked for. Were my eyes deceiving me? Was this the doll who worked my ass off to find? I then grabbed the doll, and it had an unusual weight about it. It felt like a solid piece of metal, and it didn't feel like plastic. It felt like a false flesh. But I thought this was new for dolls to have, and it was a new technology, but I couldn't explain the weight. That was truly unusual. I then reached the till and no one was there. I was almost tempted to run out of the store with the doll. I then looked over the till till a man came and he whacked me on my head. I then said, "What the hell was that for?" He replied to me, "You not look over till." I then said to him, "How much for the doll?" He said, "Doll not for sale." After staying silent for a minute, I said, "Come on man, give me a break. I've been searching for hours across the city for this." Then he said, Just take the doll and not come back. Anything happened to you, not my fault." He said this in an angry and quick tone and just shoved me out the store. I got on the car and was surprised. Why the hell did he not take my money? I would have paid a fortune for the doll, and it must have cost him a fortune to buy it. But I didn't give two shits. I was just happy I got the doll. I drove home and the drive was comfortable, but just before I got home, there was something truly unsettling. I heard a sound. It was almost like muffled baby crying, and what appeared to sound like "Mama, Mama, Mama." Now I was scared. Is this how powerful doll technology has come? I reached my mom and dad's house and knocked the door. They said to me, "You missed the party." I said, "Sorry, say happy birthday to sis for me and give her this from me. I know she's been asking for it." I then heard running. It was my sister. She came running and quickly hugged me. After we embraced for 5 minutes, I gave her the doll. After making her grasp me, I then said, "It took me forever to get this doll. Look after it and enjoy it." "Do you know that dolls can talk now?" And she said, "Bro, this doll can't talk." I went, "It just did." Forget it. And I handed the doll, but the evidence I felt from before just magically disappeared. She ran to her room and disappeared. Probably gonna play with the doll for all night. My parents said to me, "Have some cake." I said, "Sorry, I got work tomorrow." I got into the car and was freaked out by the doll. I realized there's something weird about it. I then sent some text message to my friend saying, don't talk to me. I drove home and it was getting late. I'll probably hit the hay when I get home. I then got to my apartment and was groggy and tired. I then went to my door where I dropped the keys. And as I went to pick them up, I saw a doll at the end of the corridor and it was crying and saying, similar to the sounds in the car. Terrified by this, I stood up and opened the door. I looked, but the sound finished and the doll disappeared. I then went straight to sleep. It was that morning I had over 100 missed calls from my parents. I then listened to them one by one, each one getting more severe and more scary sounding. As I listened to them from the first one, just my sister was crying, then to her screaming, and then to her saying, Mama, Mama, like the doll. The final one was my sister. She was in hospital and my parents had come over, and just when the message finished, I heard what seemed to be a toddler's voice saying, Mama, Mama. We then got cut off by a demonic voice, which then said, Mama, Mama. And the message stopped. I then rushed to the hospital and saw my parents in the ward crying, and besides my sister's bedside. I then approached them. My mom then got up and attacked me, saying, it's all your fault. You brought in the fucking doll to my little baby. You killed her. My dad grabbed her and said, son, don't worry, pay no attention. She's not state to talk to me, you know. I then fell on my knees and bursted out crying. But then it changed into a demonic laughter. I couldn't control my mind, but not my body. I was terrified. I was wondering how this happened. I then got grabbed by security after everyone was staring at me. My body felt like it was controlled by an unknown force. I attacked the security, but then I got hit in the face with a crutch and knocked out. I woke up in my home and my face was hurting from the blow, but I had control of my body now, and I thought it was probably just my mind messing up. I then got my keys and drove to my parents' home. I pulled up in the driveway. I looked up at the window and saw the doll staring at me. And as I got out, the eyes were slowly following me. Just slowly enough for the human eye to barely register. I then knocked on the door and heard no reply. And I looked at the window and the doll disappeared. The door then unlocked itself and opened ever so slightly. I froze for a few seconds. Spurred on by my curiosity, I went into the house and saw the doll. This time it was smiling, staring right at me. Instead of the flesh, plastic-like texture of the skin and the dress he was wearing rags, almost as he had molded into this flesh, and the flesh felt like real flesh, and it was mutilated, and the eyes were scratched out. The weight from before had returned, this time even more heavier. I then said, is that what my sister has been doing with the doll? She ruined it. I then realized that my sister had flesh missing on her leg. I then dropped the doll and heard something say, ow, and I started crying. I then ran upstairs to try and get my pair of tomahawks, but by the time I reached the stairs, I heard the sound of something crawling on the floorboards, saying, I'm gonna find you, Mama. Mama, where are you? Almost frozen by the fear brought on by this doll, I broke off a piece of metal from the stair railing and used the sharp end of it to stab it, the so-called doll. The rags that it dons as flesh then ripped. A weird black substance came out of it, which then morphed into a black liquid, which then spelled, you're next. Then the room went black, and the same incident that occurred at the hospital happened again, but this time I was being flung like a rag doll everywhere around the room. Then an apparition formed out of the black liquid, which has piercing white eyes. This dramatically contrasted against his black body with elongated black claws, and then it said to me in a demonic voice, you happy? You got to the bottom of this? This is what you wanted, you fool. You released me in this world. Now mankind will receive its reckoning, and all will tremble in fear. and then stopped moving and was frozen in the middle of the room. He then took his long black claws filled with the venom of sin, and then he scribed onto my chest using my body as a canvas, and then wrote, "Beware, mankind, reckoning is coming to you, change your ways." He then finished and blood was pouring down my chest onto the floor. I was barely surviving and the demon licked the blood off the floor. There was a knock and then the sound of the door unlocking. Then I smashed onto the floor and the door makeshift blade was left by me. My parents then saw me on the floor in blood, the markings on my chest, and me ranting weird incantations. What I remember after this is blurry. I just remember my parents calling the police, and then I recollect what happened after that. I can't recollect it. But now I know I'm in a religious institute and receive exorcisms from teachers, gurus from all religions and across the world to try and cure me. The only fact I know about my sister is that she was in a coma, and that was over 10 years ago, and apparently she still is. I should stop talking now. My friend wants to talk to me. He's invisible.